It is quite frankly unbelievable when you think about it that they're bringing 2 people in for every 1 job. That is just absolutely crazy. It's actually just that those jobs don't pay enough to have a standard of living that is acceptable in Canada. But just by inviting people over and keeping wages low in that area, that doesn't solve the problem. In fact, that will decrease the standard of living. The standard of living in Canada is absolutely collapsing. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through what is going on and why, unfortunately, because of the central planners, we can expect this to get a lot worse. So let's get right into it. So Canadian job vacancies are falling sharply as excess labor rises. So what could be going on here, guys? So Canada's job market saw a notable erosion in opportunity as fewer job openings are advertised. Vacant roles fell 9% to 706,000 in Q3 2023, representing 254,000 fewer openings than last year. This marks the 5th consecutive quarter of decline since the peak in Q2 2022. And then basically it has this nice chart for us here which shows you how basically you've had the unemployment to job vacancy rate that went down throughout 2021, as you would expect with the stimulus. Obviously nobody wanted to work, and that's basically what was happening there. But what you basically had happen with the job vacancies is the job vacancies, they went up, but now they're coming back down, and you're having the unemployment to job vacancy ratio go up. And as you can see, these look like substantial trends that have been set over a long period of time. They haven't just suddenly appeared that way. So obviously, when things are trending like this, do you think there's going to be some sudden reversal in that? No. And as it goes on to say in this article, because of the amount of immigrants we're taking in, we just cannot literally find jobs for all these people. And it's actually an insane amount more than you would actually think. So let's continue on here. Canada's vacant roles are concentrated in low-wage industries. Oh, that's fantastic, isn't it? We just got low-wage jobs, essentially. And you know, guys, you've just got to think, nobody can afford to take those jobs anyway. This is exactly why they bring in all the immigrants to do these jobs. But the reality is that all these immigrants coming in, they're going to live in squalor, slum conditions, some of them. Some of them are even going to live on the streets. And what that does overall is it pushes the standard of living down for everyone. So it's kind of a crazy scenario that we have going on here, but it is happening. So the vacancy rate, the share of available roles as a share of total labor demand, fell 0.4 points to 3.9% in Q3 2023. It's now the lowest level since Q1 2021 after falling for 5 consecutive quarters. The distribution of these vacancies also yields more insight that isn't particularly positive. Canada's vacant jobs are significantly concentrated in one area: sales and services. And those jobs, they're not correlated with the economy at all. I mean, they're not volatile jobs when you have economic turbulence, are they? Oh my God, you just can't believe it. Canada's vacant jobs are significantly concentrated in one area: sales and service. Over 1 in 4 jobs, 29.2% of all vacancies were in this area, with nearly a quarter, 47.5%, in a low-wage role. The role: counter attendants, kitchen helpers, and related occupations, offering $16.50 an hour on average. In other words, low-wage roles that would struggle to cover rent dominate the available jobs. And the thing is, when you have high immigration, you can see exactly how this works. Obviously, that allows large companies, large corporations. I mean, all you've got to do, guys, is follow the money. Where do all the immigrants work? They work at these large corporations that are structured like oligarchies, and they have a lot of government influence too. So they all work at these large corporations, and basically what you can see is that they're doing the jobs essentially that Canadians don't want to do. But it's not only necessarily that's the case. It's actually just that those jobs don't pay enough to have a standard of living that is acceptable in Canada. But just by inviting people over and keeping wages low in that area, that doesn't solve the problem. In fact, that will decrease the standard of living. And you've only got to look at the example of Lululemon, because Lululemon basically threatened the government to pull out of Canada if they didn't grant all their work permits permit applications for foreign workers. Why? Because they want to pay people fuck all. It's what all these large corporations and oligarchies want to do. It's just absolutely crazy. So for context, we've all heard that Canada has a trade crisis with a huge opportunity to fill roles. Trades and related roles represented 134,000 of the vacant roles in the quarter. If the country calls that a crisis, what does it call the lack of low-wage workers in its sales and service industries? An immigration plan. Oh my gosh. Anyway, this is the most concerning thing in this article. Canada's population is growing nearly 2x job creation. There's good news and bad news when it comes to what drove the decline of vacant roles. The good news, most of the jobs were absorbed, with payroll employment rising 0.6%. It's significantly higher than the decline in vacancies, meaning most were likely absorbed instead of scrapped. It also marked the 10th consecutive quarter for payrolls to rise, meaning the country's employment is on the rise. Adding jobs is great, but it doesn't mean a lot unless contrasted with the population. That's where the bad news comes in. Canada's working age population added 2 times as many people as the economy added jobs. We've discussed this in a number of times and how this trend is driving a higher unemployment rate. So there you go. Absolutely insane what is happening in the job market. It is quite frankly unbelievable when you think about it, that they're bringing 2 people in for every 1 job. That is just absolutely crazy, especially considering the environment we're heading into, considering where most of these jobs are added, which is in volatile industries to say the least. This is just going to lead to a massive unemployment crisis, in my opinion, at some point down the road. But anyway, I want to get onto the standard of living and how it's collapsing in Canada. So basically, as you know, the standard of living is going down, but this is covering something that we don't usually talk about here, which is healthcare and education. So this guy posted a good article on National Post. In business, as in life, warnings don't usually come attached with loud blaring sirens. They often first appear as weak signals, one after the other, and as they become more frequent, they also get a little louder. A number of news stories over the past few weeks have been exactly those kind of signals, under the radar warnings about the state of our economy and society. Hit the nail on the head there. So it was troubling to see several reports about the deteriorating health in Canada. The first was sort of a canary in the coal mine warning. Life expectancy in Canada is dropping. Wow, okay. So this one, obviously, I'm going to have to tread carefully here because I'm not a physician. I'm not a doctor, obviously. Also, I don't want to trigger the algorithm. So I'll tread lightly here. But obviously, we've had a load of people which have made certain medical choices over the past couple of years, maybe taking controversial medicines, which have now been, quite frankly, obviously proven to cause significant problems. So anyway, that aside, you've had the life expectancy declining. Obviously, coupled with that, you've got an opioid crisis. You've also got depression at record high. We've got a deterioration of mental health in this country, and your mental health is the most important thing to your health, because in my opinion, mental health affects really everything. But you know, the declining education system, declining healthcare system, I want to show you this because this is hospital beds, and unfortunately the data only goes back as far as 2019. So you got to remember the population has obviously grown substantially since they did this data, and I'm sure they've built about 5 hospitals near you since then. Have they? No, obviously not. So obviously we've had this massive spike in population growth. So the chances are that this is way lower than the figure that's actually on this page right now. But essentially, when you go down and look at other countries, I mean, some of the countries with the highest amount of hospital beds per capita are unusual places, or places that you might actually expect. So Virgin Islands, US, Monaco, Japan, Korea, Channel Islands, Germany, Mongolia, Ukraine, if you can believe it, Bulgaria, Austria, Russia, Hungary, Romania, Poland, Lithuania, Bermuda, Gabon, Kazakhstan, Barbados, France, Slovak Republic, Moldova, Serbia, Belgium, Croatia. And we're talking like substantial amounts here. If you take Croatia, for example, 5.5, well, we're at 2.5, and we're probably at 1.9 with the population where it is right now. So it's just crazy when you really think about it. And then you've only got to look at migration into Canada right now. It is absolutely insane. And really, this is just insane. So basically, the migration in a report last week, this was released December 29th, by the way, Statistics Canada counted a total of 2.5 million NPRs as of this October, up from 1.7 million from the same time last year. The 2020 growth shatters previous year records in the available data, tripling the increase of nearly 170,000 between the summers of 2018 and 2019. NPRs have grown by just over 80% since the fourth quarter of 2021. And then basically this chart just shows you the complete insanity. So you can basically see how the birth rate was actually going up. Surprisingly, it was actually going up before 2008. What would you know? So after the great financial crisis, birth rate drops. When Trudeau got in, birth rate absolutely collapses. But think about it, that probably has more to do with the cost of living than you would actually think. And that is something that politicians and central planners will never tell you is the case, but it's totally true. And then they've had to obviously increase immigration as a result of this, but they've gone absolutely insane now. So NPRs, non-permanent residents, essentially, so that's people on student visas, that's people on any type of work permit or visa, essentially, that is living in the country and a resident in Canada. So basically, you can see how that's absolutely exploded right now. And the problem is, what a lot of people don't understand about this is the way Canada's immigration system works. The student visa system is totally abused. It is absolutely abused by people, and it is the biggest driver of low-skilled immigration to this country that people are just unaware of. And essentially, the reason why this isn't talked about widely is because obviously the universities and colleges that get enriched by this, they love this and they want this to continue going on. Obviously, they can get all these foreigners come in and buy their courses. Whether they're actually going to do any of the courses that they actually take is a different matter, but they essentially buy these courses, they come into Canada, they get their student visa, and then basically after they graduate, their student visa entitles them to get a work permit, and then they can get permanent residence pretty easily. So a lot of people abuse this. They go into IT, they never actually end up doing IT. It's just one of the cheaper programs that people can take. And basically this whole system is just broken and abused. So we have major problems in the immigration system. And like I said, follow the money, because when you follow the money, you tend to find out why these things are happening. And it's no different when it comes to student visas. It's because the insane amount of money that it brings in. So that's why that is happening. And then basically it breaks it down where they're coming from there. So you can see the majority of these people are coming from India and China, making up over a third of where the people are coming from. And then you've got other countries, and then other 33.7%. I don't know why it says other like that. As of the most recent data, the majority of Canada's 2.5 million non-permanent residents hold work permits, with close to 1 million permitted to study in the country. These totals include asylum claimants, a majority of whom also hold either a work or study permit or both. The growth comes amid what IRCC describes as record-breaking numbers for new permits, including more than 1.5 million for workers and 1 million for students processed, finalized, or extended this year. So there you go, over 1 million student visas issued or extended this year. And it is no wonder that GDP per capita is absolutely collapsing. And here is a thing that I want to leave you with. It's a thought that I've had about this GDP per capita measure. Obviously, there is no measure that we can look at that is really accurate, but GDP capita gives a sort of overview representation of how it's doing per person in the population. If you strip out the top 3% of income earners, I guarantee this is actually going down. And we're going to get into that in another video where it's just going to absolutely blow your mind over the next couple of days to what is happening. But really, it's to do with this, and we'll get into that more in that other video. So anyway, I want to thank you so much for watching this video and staying close to the channel. If you're looking for a VPN, go to expressvpn.com/Market Mania to get around Trudeau's insane Bill 11 and censorship laws. If you've enjoyed this video, you might like this video that I picked out for you here, or you might like this playlist right here. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next one.